Welcome to SF Web Expert. My name is Suraj. Today's agenda is CCNP Voice Interview Training Kit. So we are designing an interview kit for a student, those who are appearing for CCNP Voice interview, those who have completed. So our aim is to giving help, and our aim they should be beneficial by going through this interview kit. So let's start with the question and answers. The first question: what is the difference between S323 and MGCP and SIP protocol? So let's start with S323. S323 is a peer-to-peer protocol. It is not dependent upon the communication manager, whereas MGCP is a client-to-server protocol which is totally dependent upon the communication manager. If the communication manager is up, this protocol is up. If the communication manager is down, this protocol is down. Whereas S323 protocol can take a self decision. For example, if S323 protocol receive a call from the outside, it can take a decision, either it has to send a call to the communication manager or it has to send to another S323 gateway. Whereas MGCP, in case of MGCP, any calls comes, it has to send to the call manager. Anything whatever call manager send, the MGCP gateway will send out. S323 protocol has two sub protocol. One is called S225, which is used for call setup, which use the TCP port number 1720. It has the second protocol that is called 7 sub protocol, that is called S245, that is used for media negotiations, or you can say the capabilities exchange, where it's exchange the codec, for example G711 or G729 codec. Now third one is a SIP protocol. The SIP is an open standard protocol. Nowadays it's widely used because it does not have any vendor dependency, and its message is a text based message, means the SIP has text based message, so you can modify or delete very easily, and it is a lightweight protocol. The SIP has a two sub protocol. One is called SIP user agent and another is called SIP user agent server. So server could be a communication manager, that could be a proxy or redirect server. The server agent could be your PC, means the terminal, your phone, or it could be a fax machine. So this is the basic difference between S323, MGCP and SIP. Now the next question: what is a voice gateway? How to make normal gateway as a voice gateway? So we have a two flavor of the gateways. One is called generation 1 gateway. Generation 1 is nothing but 2800 and 3800 series gateways. Generation 2 is nothing but 3900 and 2900 series gateways. If you want to make a generation 1 router as a voice gateway, the first thing you have to upgrade the IOS. The normal IOS which we get in IOS gateways, that is a data supporting IOS, means normally you can send only data packet if you have a normal gateway. If you want to make a voice gateway, you have to upgrade the image which support the voice commands, that is called voice image, voice enterprise image, anything. If you want to make a generation 2 router as a voice gateway, you have to purchase a license. Suppose you want to enable a voice, so you have to purchase a voice license by sending the serial address and the PID number of the gateway to the Cisco. Cisco generates and the charge for the license and send to the customer. Once the customer upload the license in the flash and execute some commands in the gateway, the license get activated. In this license there is a two flavor. One is called permanent license and second one is called evaluation license. So when you purchase a license and activate, it will show as a permanent license, will show as a permanent, means it activated for lifetime. Second is the evaluation license. Suppose you don't have a license and you want your router should access a voice gateway and it accept all the commands. You have to enable the evaluation license, but that is only valid for 60 days. After 60 days it will expire, so better you should purchase a permanent license. Now the second one, what is the difference between what sorry what different type of media resource are available in CUCM? The CUCM has a media resource like transcoding, conferencing, MTP, MOH, music on hold, and annunciate. So there are five kind of media resource are available, and all have a different functionality that we'll cover in next section. Now the next question, what is the difference between PRI and BRI? The PRI is nothing but a primary rate interface which has a two flavor, one is called T1 and one is called E1. The BRI is basic rate interface, that is called 2B plus D, means two barrier channel, 1 and D means signaling channel. So if you use a BRI, you can send 2 voice call at a time. If you use a PRI T1, you can send 23 voice call at a time, and if you use a E1, you can send 30 voice call at a time. Now it has two things. The PRI has two things. One is called a CAS, one is called a CCS. CAS is called channel associated signaling, and CCS is called common channel signaling. If you use a T1 PRI as a CAS, you can utilize entire 24 channel, because you can send your voice packet and signal simultaneously. That is called in-band signaling. And if you use a CCS, you can send 23 voice calls, and one channel is dedicated for signaling. So this is the main difference between PRI and PRI. Now the next one is, what is the significance of CDP and its loop? The CDP is a protocol which exchanges voice VLAN information to the IP phone. Okay. So the other question, people get a question different way also. By which protocol the Cisco IP phone learn a voice VLAN information? So answer is CDP, Cisco Discovery Protocol. The CDP has a loop. Actually, whenever we add any phone into any Cisco switch, initially it will be in a blocking mode, and when the port come up, it goes through the 4 stage: blocking to listening, listening to learning, and finally it's reached to forwarding. So if you want to avoid this, you should use a spanning tree port fast command. When you put a spanning tree port fast command, it skips the listening and learning process, so the ports come up within 10 seconds instead of 40 seconds. If you are not using the spanning tree port fast command, the port will come up in 40 seconds. Now the next question. Is, what is the difference between transcoding, conferencing, and MTP? The transcoding, basically it is called as converting from one codec to another codec. For example, if you have a headquarter and the headquarter phones are running with the G711 codec. Now the host headquarter phones are making a making a call to the remote site which is running with G729 codec. So that time we require a hardware conferencing, because that there is a codec mismatch. One side is G711, one side is G729. So transcoder will convert the different codec and it will produce a single stream, so both party can understand. The second one is a conferencing. So the conferencing has two flavor. One is called a software conference, one is called a hardware conference. So when you install a call manager and you activate the services by name IP voice media streaming application service in the communication manager, by default the software conference will be registered in the communication manager, but it has a limitation. It only support G711 codec. But if you want the different codec should be supported, means the people should join the conference call across the globe with a different codec like G722, G711, G729. That time you require a hardware conferencing. And suppose you want to use a meet me conference, that time also the hardware conferencing is mandatory. And suppose you want to use the same codec, for example G711 codec, for making a conference, a local conference, that time the hardware conference is not required. Now the third one is MTP. So MTP is basically used for supporting the supplementary services. What are the supplementary services? Transfer, putting a person on hold, and forwarding the call. Other than this, MTP used for the RSVP protocol. With RSVP, we want to enable the CAC RSVP. That time MTP is mandatory. Without MTP, RSVP cannot be achieved. Other than that, when you use a S3 protocol with the version 1, that time MTP is compulsory. With the version 2, MTP is not required. So these are the application of MTP. Now next one, what is the use of DSP calculator? So the basically DSP calculator we use for deciding which PBDM model we have to insert into the routers for transcoding, conferencing, MTP and PRA termination. So the DSP calculator helps how many transcoding session with G711, G729, how many conference session with G711, G729, and how many PRI means T1 and E1 we can terminate on the our voice gateway. So as per the DSP calculator calculation, we can purchase the PBDM model. The PBDM model could be PBDM 16, PBDM 32, PBDM 64, PBDM 128. So higher number of transcoding, conferencing, MTP session and the PRI, it required higher number of PBDM. The lower number required lower number of PBDM. Next question. List different series of voice gateway with advantage. So the Cisco has the generation 1 and the generation 2 gateways. Generation 1 is nothing but 2800 and 3800 series routers. Whereas generation 2 it is 3900 and 2900 routers. Those are generation 2 routers. The advantage with the generation 2 routers, they support 3 ports and all are gigabit port. Whereas generation 2 routers, if you use a 2800, it has only 2 fast Ethernet port. Whereas generation 3 router has 3 port, gigabit 0/0, 0/1 and 0/2. And the generation 2 router support PBDM 3. PBDM 3 has a higher capacity compared to PBDM 2. Generation 1 router support PBDM 1 and generation 1 routers support PBDM 2 and generation 2 routers support PBDM 3. So PBDM 3 has a higher capacity compared to PBDM 2 because it support more number of transcoding, conferencing and MTP session. Now the next, list step for create voicemail for CUCM users. Okay, so if you want to create a voicemail for CUCM user, you require a Cisco Unity connection. So you need to integrate for voicemail to work CUCM with Cisco Unity connection. In the CUCM, few parameters you have to configure, and Cisco Unity connection you have to configure few parameters so voicemail can work. The CUCM parameters are voicemail pilot, voicemail port, MWI on and off number means message waiting indicator on, message waiting indicator off, voicemail profile, okay, hunt pilot, hunt list, line group and voicemail port. These are the parameters we have to configure in Cisco Communication Manager. And Cisco Unity connection we have to configure phone system, port group and port. So this is the basic things you have to do. You have to configure in Cisco Unity connection and call manager for integration. This is for SCCP integration. If you want to do the SIP integration, instead of the voicemail pilot number, you will create a route pattern and you will create a SIP trunk. So the communication manager will talk to Cisco Unity connection through the SIP trunk with a route pattern instead of voicemail pilot number. The next one is, what is the difference between LAN and WAN codec? So the LAN codec is nothing but a G711 codec. WAN codec is nothing but a G729 codec. So LAN is nothing but 64 kbps, WAN is 8 kbps. There is one more question people get asked in the interview. What is the default codec selected? Default codec used by the Cisco gateways? That is nothing but G729. Okay. Now next question is, what is the significance of PBDM? The significance of PBDM, it depends upon the what router you are going to add a PBDM. So PBDM is basically for PRA termination. It is for converting voice packet into IP packet and vice versa, IP packet into voice packet. It is used for transcoding, it is used for conferencing, it is used for MTP. Next question. What is the difference between PBDM2 and PBDM3? So PBDM2 is used by the generation 1 router and PBDM3 is used by the generation 2 router. PBDM2 support less number of PRI and it support less number of transporting, conferencing and MTP session, whereas PBDM3 support higher number of transcoding, conferencing, MTP and the PRI. The next question. How many maximum IP phone a CME router can support in CMN SRST? Okay, before letting you this, let me tell you what is the difference between the SRST, normal SRST and the CMA SRST. Let me tell you what is the SRST. The SRST means when suppose you have a communication manager and you have your own branch. So your branch is registered with the SRST gateway. In case the WAN link goes down, that time the branch router will act as a SRST router and the phones will fall back to that router. Means the phone will assume that router is a temporary call manager for those phones. So this is the basic functionality of SRST. So SRST mode, the phones will support only supplementary services like you can transfer the call, you can forward the call and you can hold the call and you can make and receive the call. That's all. So if you use the SRST, generation 2 routers support more than 1000 phones in the SRST mode and generation 1 router support maximum 720 phones. Whereas the CME, generation 2 routers hardly 450 phones, whereas the generation 1 router 240 phones it support. The reason being that in CME SRST why the phones support less, because the CME SRST it support not only the supplementary service, it support the call manager features also. For example, extension mobility, call park, hardware conferencing, MTP, many things it supports. So that is the reason its load is high, so it support less number of IP phone in CMA SRST. The next, list different type of CME model for generation 1 and generation 2 routers. So we have a different CU model. So when suppose you have a small office, that time you use a CME as a solution for the user. That time we use a CU model which store the voicemail for the users. So 2800 and 3800 means generation 1 router support a CU model like NMCU, AIMCU. AIMCU is a motherboard integrated CU, NMCU and NMECU, that is the external device which we insert from the back side of the router. And generation 2 router we use a SMSRE model which has one comes in a motherboard, inbuilt motherboard, and the second one comes the external device which we insert from the back side of the router. So the generation 1 CU model support less number of voicemail and its storage is less, whereas generation 2 SMSRE models they support higher number of mailbox and its storage time is higher. For example, generation 1 CU model maximum it has storage capacity is 300 hours, whereas generation 2 router it has a 600 hours. It's almost double. Now the next question, how to integrate CU-CME with CU for voicemail. CU-CME with CU for voicemail, the first thing we have to configure the service engine which is in CME router. When you add any CU model, when you do a show run command, you will get a interface by service engine. There you have to give a command IP unnumbered followed by the interface, which interface you want to bind. You can bind with the voicemail or you can bind with the loopback. So IP unnumbered followed by the interface you will give. Then you will give a command service model IP address, and then the service model default gateway, and no shut. This is the main thing. And then you have to create a IP route between the CME to CU. IP route command which is pointing to CU. So IP route you will give like IP route followed by the CU IP address, subnet mask followed by the default interface. That is nothing but a CME interface. The next you have to go to the CU model and you have to do the configuration. For example, if you initially, if you want to do from the beginning, if you go first offline and then you go for the restore factory default, and then you'll configure CU, you will configure the NTP, and you will create a user, you'll create a mailbox, and you'll associate with the mailbox. So there are two different way we can do the CU/CMA integration, through the WEF or through the CLI. So you can go to the web interface, and from there you can select the options and you can do the integration, or through CLI also you can do the integration. So the detailed integration will, I'll give in a notepad text, so you can go through and you can do it. Now next question is, what is the difference between publisher and subscriber? The publisher and subscriber both comes in the communication manager. The publisher, which is going to maintain the master copy of the database. The subscriber, which we add under the publisher, and the publisher replicate all the information of the subscriber. Means the database will be common. We are just adding a subscriber for sharing the load of the publisher. So in one columnar cluster we can have one publisher and we can have 8 subscribers. So one publisher can manage up to 8 subscribers, but the database will be common. So whatever you will add in the publisher, it will replicate to all the subscribers. So this is the basic difference between publisher and subscriber. Okay, so next questions will cover in the volume 2. Thanks for joining this session.